reunited with his wife. He wants nothing more than to sail west and build a life with her.
But to do so, he will need the support of Harald, who may not be willing to let him leave. So I'm guessing we'll probably be jumping back and forth between these two.
Probably. One's for the
English, one's for the Viking.
For the Norwegian.
Yeah.
The Norse. Bird view. Bird view.
That's a pretty sky.
Yeah.
How many people actually look up in this menu? Usually you just see this.
I'm gonna be legit. This game looks good.
Mm-hmm.
The visuals.
Yeah.
Wait till the geometry clicks you out of bounds. You know, you can't climb here, but if you're half an inch over, you can climb.
You can only climb this thing if you jump at it at a certain angle with the stupid zip line.
Stupid zip line. Zip line was a mistake.
Seaworthy. While the years at sea have brought Thorstein great riches, they have also taken their toll. He wants to give up raiding, but to do so he needs Harald's permission, something the young Jarl is unlikely to give. Alvekstad, 870.
So I pried the book from his hands and tore the covers off to bring home. I'll be able to afford another slave this harvest season, at the very least.
These Saxons and their books. You'd think they were more precious than their own lives, but if no one lives to speak of what's written down, who will remember it?
Not to speak of how they treat their dead, putting bones or pieces of wood inside golden boxes. How this honors their god, I'll never understand.
Waiting won't make it any easier.
This is a feast.
Look at all this food.
Living good.
The Great Hall.
Heck yeah.
The Great Hall may have been its own building, like the one pictured here, or a large central room in the chief's longhouse. The hall was at the heart of the community. Deep bonds were created, transformed, and sometimes broken under its roof. The chieftain's house, seen in this picture, was reconstructed after archaeologists found remains from a 6th to 10th century longhouse. It is 83 meters long and 9.5 meters wide, making it the longest longhouse ever found. Lofter Museum, Borg, Norway. Gilbert,
What is Gilbert?
son of a noble, finds himself embroiled in his father's political affairs.
The big crane.
Volunder. Let the god Wayland guide you through your adventures. With his ornaments and piercing vision, he's an exceptional companion in both beauty and might. Pretty bird.
There's a pretty bird.
Yeah.
Thorstein, the hero of many tales.
Looked freaking awesome when it came out. jeez, how games advance.
Yeah, 2007 and now.
I could not let you pass without experiencing the sting of your wit.
The mood I'm in, you'd best hope for a stinging rather than a lash.
Then let's begin. On the Isle of Ely, great riches were won.
It was over before this flighting begun.
Come, Thorstein. Surely you can do better than that. I've heard of your legend, your grace and prowess.
To not have heard it, you'd have to be dense.
I feel like you're not taking this seriously, my friend. It's a shame Harald Jarl outshines you so brightly.
He outshines us both. He's so sprightly.
Weak, I'm afraid. How disappointing.
I don't have time for this.
Thorstein, the hero of men.
I suck at flighting. To carry out this task, the Skald composed poems that followed a complex set of rules. He strove through the finesse of his metaphors, the famous kennings or kenningar, to create a masterpiece that cultivated glory and fame. The main subjects of his poems were his benefactors, that is, those able to pay him generously for his performances. It was likely that Skalds would also play an instrument while performing. Pictured here is a lyre, an instrument commonly used during the early Middle Ages. Replica of the Sutton Hu large lyre. To hold on to his power, a chieftain had to keep his companions happy, in other words, wealthy. Whether by trade or by war, Norse leaders needed to get their hands on loot and riches to redistribute them to their allies. This was how they kept their companions in line. A sword like this one might have been given by a wealthy leader to a trusted ally, or one whose loyalty he wanted to ensure.
Thorstein! You've been far from our shores, but never my thoughts.
Can you teach me to be a better flighter?
What was the point?
There's something I must say, my Jarl.
So formal. Did the crossing scour our friendship from your mind?
It did not. It's only by friendship that I am brave enough to speak.
Tell me then. I'm listening.
I tire of raiding Harold. I want to settle where there's rich, dark soil for the taking. I want to make a place of our own where I can live out my days with my wife.
You're young yet, my friend. Plenty of time to grow old with a bouncing infant on each knee.
No, my Jarl. I've delayed too long already. Today I search for a ship.
I have none to spare.
Then I shall purchase one.
Commission, perhaps. I hope this folly of yours can withstand a year's wait.
If that is what it takes. It is no slight to you, my Jarl. My love for you has not waned, but my love for my wife only grows stronger with each absence. I hope you will bless my journey in time.
Go.
King Harald Fairhair was well known for his beautiful blonde locks, but it was his ambitions that kept his name alive for centuries. In 872, he might have become the first man to control a long-disputed sailing route, the North Way. The history of King Harald Fairhair is as famous as it is dubious. Facts and myths are very much intertwined in the accounts about his life. There is still a lot of work to do to sort potentially accurate raw materials from confused assertions and elaborate exaggerations. Since it's impossible to know exactly what Harald looked like, developer team of Assassin's Creed Valhalla used their imagination to create his image in the game. Here is the result of their work.
Way over there.
Yeah, that's where we started.
Hey, boy.
What do you got for us here, Sean?
Best tell Brunhilde we will have no help from our king.
The Longhouse.
As longhouses were at the centre of Norse communities, it was only natural that they'd be at the forefront of AC Valhalla. Just like any true Viking, Eivor hosts feasts, plans battles, and sleeps in her longhouse. But what about its design? The art direction team first took a scouting trip to Lofoten, Norway, to immerse themselves in the land and bring back references. And chocolate. From these pictures, modelers and artists designed variations of paint patterns, carved animals, frescoes, and so on, for players to enjoy and use to customize their settlement. Anglo-Saxon longhouses, on the other hand, were designed with different materials, such as hay and lime, and less detailed engravings. Can't have them steal the show.
Our longhouse. In the middle of our settlement. Doesn't have the same ring to it, Sean. Who was shooting? Alrikstad, near the Bay of Vagan, was a great estate on the southwestern Scandinavian coast. King Harald Fairhair likely used it as a base from which to watch over the sailing route on the North Way. The North Way was an important route. Whoever controlled it controlled trade. By the end of the 800s, Alrikstad had become the seat of royal power and was the starting point for both commercial and military expeditions. The design of Alrikstad in Valhalla was greatly inspired by Bryggen, seen here, a historic harbor district in the modern city of Bergen. Very bright houses.
Yeah. You got the meats for it, Ron?
Let's start over here. Boom. Oh, I could have ziplined. Oh well. Yes, but Eivor wears it on top of his wrist, like Darius, because he doesn't understand the reason to hide it.
What did Darius wear it on top?
I don't know. I just did, I guess.
Also, remember when you said to cut off a finger and everything?
Yeah, but then Altair changed the design so you didn't have to.
Yeah, but Darius didn't cut off.
Well, that's because he wore it on top of his wrist, so he didn't have to.
By accidentally cut off the finger.
Yeah. Between two worlds. Ancient Scandinavians believed that ships straddled two different worlds, for they were built on land but lived at sea. Symbolically, to sail was to have a foot in two worlds, not just land and sea, but also life and death. To be on a ship was to be in a liminal in-between space between life and afterlife. Ships, whether wooden or stone, symbolize transition. This is likely why they had figured heavily in Scandinavian burial rites since the Bronze Age. Bronze Age stone ship from Grinsvard, Gotland, Sweden. That's a big ship. The longship, or Langskip. To build a longship, one first added the keel, the backbone of the ship, to the hull. The hull was clitter-built. Its planks overlapped each other like fish scales. The boards were fastened together by metal rivets, then caulked by hemp and horsehair soaked in tar. This ensured that the water would not soak through the hull in the middle of the voyage. Next, the mast was attached to the hull by a fish-shaped piece of wood. This ensured that the sail along the mast did not resist the wind, but moved with it. This adaptability, when coupled with the flexibility of the ship's hull, made the Langskip elastic. Rather than splitting the waves, it slithered through them. Reconstructed longship ashore in Lofoten Islands. Cool. Blessing the ship. The keel pictured here was the backbone of the ship. According to legend, there was a christening ritual for boats called blooding the keel. The term seems to hint at some kind of human or animal sacrifice to please the gods. However, it was likely just a metaphor. Metaphors and similes were often found in Norse poetry and legends. Blooding the keel may have meant getting the ship's feet wet or putting her in the water. Keel of the Saga Osenberg Viking ship, a replica of a 9th century vessel. Play that lyre. Taboos on the high seas. A good way to ward off bad luck on an expedition was to be familiar with all the taboos before setting sail. Along with other maritime skills, lessons about taboos were passed from father to son, from fisherman to fisherman. Those bold or foolish enough to ignore their elders' warnings and risk the wrath of the gods could end their journey much like this unfortunate crew. Listen to your betters. What do we got here, Sean?
Yeah, Sean.
Beware of the noise traps.
Creating an immersive world also includes the sounds triggered when Eivor interacts with her or his surroundings. Shown here are coloured surfaces that play a specific sound when the player walks on them. Yes, every item with sound and animation is labelled in the game's engine. A brown square indicates a wooden sound, probably because wood is brown, I'm not sure, while yellow squares signal a fabric-like sound. When the player walks on or touches one of these hidden squares, the noise it's linked to triggers automatically. But there's another side to this coin, and it's a sinister one. With this system, developers were also able to create noise traps that can reveal the player's presence to nearby enemies.
That's nice.
The brown square indicates a wooden sound. Probably because it's wood.
Okay, so now it's just crouching doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah, it depends on what you're moving across, too.
crunchy's no gonna crunch, whether
Yeah.
you're crouching or not. Ooh,
That'll be interesting.
gotta plan your routes better.
Norse religion. Unlike the Christians, the Vikings did not have a clergy, a selective group or institution who presided over religious rituals. People of different ages, genders, and backgrounds could officiate Scandinavian ceremonies. Private household worship of ancestors and gods like Thor, whose hammer is pictured in this runestone, was supervised by the head of the family. Public events and rituals would be led by a community chieftain or jarl. I thought it said cursing fish. Curing fish. Fish, fiskar, was mostly consumed after it was dried. To dry a fish, one simply placed the catch of the day on a wooden frame and let the sun and fresh air do the rest. By the end of the day, the fish would be dried and ready to eat. Yeah.
Watch out for seagulls.
There's a one. There's the two. Ah, there it is. There's the three. The hull and mast. The hull of a longship was mostly made from a hardwood tree, chosen for its solidity. The hardwood was carefully split along the grain with an axe to make the boards flexible. The mast of a longship was made from softwood, which offered not only flexibility but length. The trees used in building longships varied according to region. For example, oak trees were common in Denmark and were likely fashioned into longships. In Norway, ash or pine trees would have been used instead. This reconstructed ceremonial longship offers an excellent example of a typical hull and mast. Hey, kid. No, little Brooks. No, I didn't. I know, I'm going to get this. The figurehead.
There we go.
Figureheads, as seen here, were often sculpted into wild animals or monsters. They were not just decorations. They were intended to frighten the protective spirits, or landvetir, or of hostile territories. When the Vikings wanted to ensure a successful military or commercial expedition, they showed the ship's figurehead as they drew near the shore to intimidate the landvetir of their rivals and enemies. When they were visiting a friendly territory, the Vikings did not want to offend or frighten the local spirits. On these occasions, they would remove the figurehead from the prow for a less frightening arrival. Cool.
Just like unbolt it.
I guess. Stow.
It's got a temper. Odin. Rebecca Crane.
The sail. The Scandinavians first began to use sails on their ships in the 7th or 8th century. Where once they relied solely on oars to move their ships across water, they now introduce the famous squared sail depicted on this runestone. There are several possible reasons for the addition of sails. Their introduction may be linked to an increase in wealth and land among Scandinavians. A person would need a lot of wadmal wool to make a sail. This meant they would need a lot of sheep and possibly land for grazing. Therefore, those who owned sails likely had access to a lot of wealth and land. Okay, Sean, what do we got? Creating Eivor's longship. Don't get seasick on this masterpiece.
Now, you can't make a Viking game without an awesome longship. It's the law. After all, Norsemen are renowned for their boat-building craftsmanship to this day. To do it justice, modelers in Montreal built the dimensions and shapes, while artists in Singapore created 48 different variations of longboats with stunning designs inspired by Norse mythology. The outcome speaks for itself. A slick, clinker-built hull for hydrodynamism, shallow keels to sail in low waters, and even a removable mast to pass under bridges. Now set sail, and may you have fair winds and following seas. Don't forget your sandwiches.
Got it.
Imbolder, I need a ship. My wife and I leave for the land across the sea.
Harald won't pay for such a vessel, I'm sure. Did you really fill your pockets that well on your last raid?
I have gold enough to cover the cost.
Wood, sails, and all?
Gunhilda's family will provide the sail. The rest I will purchase.
Ah, you're a lucky man.
I know.
Speak with Skaga for a pine mast, then, and yarn for the nails. Tell him I'll expect him to be on time with his deliveries in the future.
I'll see what I can do.
Pine mast.
Thorstein, what brings you to my yard?
Imbolder sent me.
Oak or pine?
I'm sorry, what?
New to shipbuilding are you? Come with me. You'll learn better by doing. Use that axe to remove the bark from this log. Underneath, you will find silken pine, flexible and light, that will bend in the wind, perfect for a mast. Once you have a sense of the wood, come find me and I will show you another.
Build my ship.
Tap in the wedges gently. We want this log to split as straight as possible. That way, we will have long, hard boards of oak for the hull of your ship to protect you and your Felig. I'll wait for you over there.
Doesn't look like it. Ugh, I'm tired.
Planning the wood ensures a tight fit between the boards, leaving no gaps or knots that might give way in the middle of the sea. The smoother the joins, the smoother your journey.
And also see some interactions too.
Now, which type of wood did Melder send you for?
Pine.
Pine for a mast.
I'll send your new mast to the shipyard as soon as it's ready.
Thank you.
Miss Rod.
Wasn't just him either.
And they're going to bring it all.
The clan. Several households could come together to form a clan, or eight. These bonds could be cemented via blood relations, marriage, or by an oath made during a legal assembly. The name of an Aet would often be constructed by putting together the name of a notorious forefather, sometimes even a god, with the suffix "inger," which evoked a sense of social belonging. Some clans had as many as 100 individual members on whom they could rely in times of peace or war. Pictured here is a clan made up of members of the Assassin's Creed Valhalla development team. They are feasting with reenactors from the Lofoten Museum in Lofoten, Norway. That's cool.
Definitely not. My parents have never traveled farther than Notval, and they complained about the food the whole time.
Have you told?
Ulf, it is good to see you again.
I couldn't miss this chance to sail with the mighty Thorstein, now could I?
Told them of your plans to sail west.
Not yet. They've woven sails for Thorstein before. No need for them to know.
Udi, keeping those hands of yours busy.
Huh, they'll be ready to tie knots in the worst winter storms, I swear.
They've woven sails for Thorstein before. No need for them to know that this time will be any different.
Ulla, it's been a long time.
It has. Time has hardened you, my friend, as it has me.
Not yet. They've woven sails for Thorstein before. No need for them to know that this time will be any different. Not until all our hard work has paid off. Well, how did it go with Harald?
Harold will not stand in our way, but neither will he help us.
Oh, at least he could give you his blessing.
He did not.
Oh, my love. He will come around. His love for you flows deep, but its pull is as strong as the tides.
I see you've made good on your promise to find us traveling companions at least.
This group of good-for-nothings, they're only here as ballast.
Ah, then find a ballast I've never seen. It's a good start, but we will need more men.
And the navigator, I know. I've gathered a list of names already.
Ah, my Leðurstjarna.
Let's go get some nails.
Are you looking for something?
Yes.
Ingvaldur sent me.
Of course he did. He tried those nails from Avaldsnes, and I bet they fell apart in the salt water. I use nothing but pure iron, which is why he hates my prices. But at least you won't find yourself suddenly sailing in a bucket full of holes. Head inside the shop. You can take a box from the stack against the back wall. But tell him he'll have to pay up front if he wants more.
I'm the one funding the construction of this ship. You will be paid in full.
I have no doubt. Eventually. Ingvaldur makes ships that sing on the ocean waves. But mundane thoughts of silver and depth never seem to enter his mind. Don't worry, I'll talk to him. Go get your nails.
Thank you.
Harpa kemur muni sáðu þeirra í jörð ef Freyr vill. Var svo döggsamt að þið nú eigi venjast alla hestana.
Here's your box of nails.
Finally you return. Now, there's one last step to take. Come with me. Which animal would you like best for your prowl? I have 3 available, so you can choose the spirit that suits your intentions. You will also need to bring me a blessed charm to put inside the prowl. But I won't need it for many months yet. Take a look and let me know if you have any questions.
The elk, or elgar. The elk was a wild and noble animal. Elk was linked to the supernatural and populated many legends. The elk's antlers both resembled tree branches and were symbolically connected to them. Just like leaves, the elk's antlers would fall each autumn only to be reborn the following spring. This association with the cycle of life also appeared in Algiz, the Rune of Life, nicknamed the Rune of the Elk. Legendary among elks was Eikthrunir, a magnificent beast that stood on top of Valhalla. Odin's hall that housed the glorious dead. Waterfalls and rivers were born from his impressive antlers. Elks and other cervids, like reindeer, commanded a lot of respect and spiritual reverence from those that lived long before the Viking Age, as this Neolithic engraving shows. The snake, or ormur. Snakes, along with other legless creatures, were not considered to be animals. Rather, they were seen as their own category of beings. Snakes were well represented in Scandinavian magical, mythical, and spiritual beliefs. They were often associated with depths. Under the ground was Nidog, a snake that strove to devour the roots of Yggdrasil, the cosmic tree. Under the sea was Jormungand, the Midgard snake which, biting its own tail, encircled the ocean until the day it was released the waters, beginning Ragnarok. It was not uncommon for these monstrous snakes to pass into legend as dragons. Snakes were among the most popular creatures depicted in Scandinavian art, as seen on this runestone. The horse, or hester. Since its domestication, the horse has been an essential companion of human beings, source of pride and prestige among medieval Scandinavian. The horse was a loyal creature that demanded respect. Horses were known for transporting people and goods. Scandinavians also granted them the power to move between the worlds of the living and dead. Sleipnir, the Mount of Odin, could carry the All-Father between worlds. This is why, in skaldic poetry, connections were drawn between horses and boats, which also represented gateways between worlds. Horses were occasionally depicted on runestones as a mount for warriors, divine or human, much like the runestone depicted here. It holds the engravings raised by 4 men named Bjorn, Vebjorn, Hrafni, and Kefilborns, in memory of their father, Girmbjorn.
Tell me about the serpent.
The snake-headed prow will ensure you dominate the waves with disconcerting ease and great stability. Is this the prow you want?
I'm not sure.
Take your time.
Tell me about the horse.
The horse? A risky choice. But you can count on it to lead you quickly to port, with the proper ritual precautions, of course. Is this the prow you want?
I'm not sure.
Take your time.
Tell me about the elk.
The elk is associated with the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. For a new beginning in distant lands, it could be quite fitting. Is this the prow you want?
I'm thinking horse or elk. Let's go with elk.
Yes.
Excellent. Then we can get started.
Eikthrunir, bless us on our journey to new lands and a new home.
Thorstein.
Yes, my Jarl.
I was childish before. In my joy at seeing you home, I wasn't ready to discuss your departure again so soon. Nor see you gone for good. Please, accept this with my blessing.
Unjo. The rune of kinship.
And why not? No man has been a truer brother to me than you. It has been an honor to have you in my félag, even if this leg of the trip will be shorter. The day has finally come.
And all too soon.
Many have come before you, and many will come after. Yet, when I die, it will be your friendship that I recall as I await the opening of Valhalla.
There, we will meet again.
Go then, and the winds take you swiftly to soft lands and great riches.
May your name never be forgotten.
A fine ship for a fine man.
And the finest craftsmanship I've ever laid eyes on. You have blessed us indeed.
I shall miss your scathing replies, Thorstein.
And I'll miss your insufferable arrogance.
God smile on you, my friend.
You still owe me for that last box of nails.
Imvolder told me he paid.
I'm just playing with you. Be well, Thorstein.
And you.
Treat her well, Thorstein.
Oh, my wife will make sure of it. I've never seen a woman more in love with a boat.
And I've never seen so fine a sail. If you ever return, I will have work for her.
And I can apprentice myself to Skaga. A sound plan.
To your friend be a friend. Gift you return with kiss. Laughter met with
Their relationship with Harald restored, Thorstein and Gunhilda sailed to Notfall to collect the rest of the crew. But a storm is brewing on the horizon, and to tame the treacherous waves they will need a great sea rider indeed.
Let me guess. Digging.
Slidrugtani.